But
Sorry.
I asked this question to David Lazar directly a year ago in a workshop. I was moderating the workshop, and then I asked this question to directly David Lazar, and then I said I kind of classify computational social science in three phases. In the first phase, there was a kind of a vague idea, so huge complex data, and then you kind of come up with an idea. Let's open a field and then analyze this huge data for the use of social scientists. And then in the second phase, you come up with some regulations, some protocols to analyze this data ethically and open a way to collaborate between companies and academics. And in the third wave, I think generative AI, as you said, changed the dynamics. And then nobody knows, including Duncan Watts, because he was in network science conference a month ago. Nobody knows what's the future of computational social science and social science in general. And I kind of add one more research line in my program. Previously, I was studying political networks, complex networks, but nowadays I'm also working on large language models itself. And then in two ways, how can I use it for my large scalable kind of textual analysis? Also, how I can understand large language models inner words. So let me share my screen and then because this is the time I need to introduce my title. So then I ended up this title because it's kind of reflect what I'm doing now at the same time. Anthropology of machines, from black box to white box. It's a kind of a journey because but I want to ask this, uh, open a pool to ask how many of you thinks that large language models are black boxes, or it is complicated, or no, or if you have other ideas, you can mention it as well. You can basically enter this code into your phone or a laptop, and then you can answer this question. I want to see how many of you thinks large language models are black boxes or not, or what do you think? We will keep continue with one more question, and then I will delve into my presentation.
Are you voting?
Okay, let me, if you all want, let me open a second question. So, we talked about, Akuno just said, social scientists need to engage with AI for doing social science. How about the other way? Does AI need social science, or does social science need AI? Do you see this question in the?
It still shows the first one.
It should. Okay, let me.
Oh, no, okay.
Need to what?
Hmm?
Need, like AI needs social science to what? To do what?
In general.
So
In general, of course. In the way that you feel, in the way that you think.
so interpret.
So, I'm waiting for a couple of you to finish. Okay, let me share my screen and to show you the results. So, let's first start with this. Oh, sorry. Okay. Most of you said, half of you said language models are black boxes. Cool. This was the answer I was expecting, and it is good to know that in the beforehand. And some of you said it's complicated. Okay, cool. And two of you said, and then I want to know who are the two of you said large language models are not black boxes, and this is good. And also regarding the AI needs social science, and most of you said AI needs social science more, and which is interesting. I didn't expect that. And both equally, this is expected. And one said social science needs more, and the other neither. Okay, cool. We are open to all ideas here. Let me continue with my presentation. So I have a small kind of video from Anthropic explaining how they see the model inside of the model and tracing the thoughts of a large language model. I want to show this in the beginning because the rest of my talk will be about how to see the inner world of the model. But before that, I want to show this a short clip from Anthropic explaining. We can see now what a model does inside, but how?
You often hear that AI is like a black box. Words go in and words come out, but we don't know why it said what it said. That's because AIs aren't programs, but trained. And during training, they learn their own strategies to solve problems. If we want AIs to be as useful, reliable, and secure as possible, we want to open up the black box and understand why they do things. But even opening the black box isn't very helpful because we don't know how to interpret what we see. Think of it like a neuroscientist investigating the brain. We need tools to work out what's going on inside. We want to know how the model connects all the concepts in its mind and uses them to answer our questions. Now we've developed ways to observe some of an AI model's internal thought processes. We can actually see how these concepts are connected to form logical circuits. Let's take a simple example where we ask Claude to write the second line of a poem. The poem starts, "He saw a carrot and had to grab it." In our study, we found that Claude is planning a rhyme even before writing the beginning of the line. Claude sees a carrot and grab it and thinks of rabbit as a word that would make sense with carrot and rhyme with grab it. Then it writes the rest of the line. His hunger was like a starving rabbit. We look at the place that the model was thinking about the word rabbit, and we see other ideas it had for places to take the poem. We also see the word habit is present there. Our new methods allow us to go in and intervene on this circuit. In this case, we dampen down rabbit as the model is planning the second line of the poem, and then ask Claude to complete the line again. His hunger was a powerful habit. We see that the model is capable of taking the beginning of a new poem and thinking of different ways it could complete it, and then writing it towards those completions. The fact we can cause these changes to occur well before the final line is written is strong evidence that the model is planning ahead of time. This poetry planning result, along with the many other examples in our paper, only makes sense in a world where the models are really thinking in their own way about what they say. Just as neuroscience helps us treat diseases and make people healthier, our longer-term plan is to use this deeper understanding of AI to help make the models safer and more reliable. If we can learn to read the model's mind, we can be much more confident it is doing what we intended. You can find many more examples of Claude's internal thoughts in our new paper at anthropic.com/research.
Okay, I'm not funded by Anthropic, but I like their this interactive visualizations and explanatory kind of videos in their YouTube channel. I strongly recommend you to go over their YouTube channel to see how they work on the inner work of LLMs. So apparently we can see how the models think inside, but the answer is not like the large language models are not black box. It is kind of complicated. It's a kind of a vague, it's a kind of gray area. We can not strongly argue that we can see how the models thinks, how the models feel, or something like that. You can see there are some papers explaining the emotions of the AI or something like that. These are all kind of emerging fields. Still, we need to work more on that area. And I want to make the case that AI needs more social science overall throughout this talk. I hope to convince you at the end to work more on how the models think, and then you will see that it is not that complicated. Maybe the answer is complicated, but how we can analyze the model is not so complicated. There are some no-code tools to see how the models think as well, and I will show you at the end. And then the Anthropic published a paper. It's called Biology of a Large Language Model, and they basically analyze how the model diagnose a medical condition or solve a kind of a mathematical a complex problem, or how they hallucinate, etc. How they plan the poems, as you said, as you see in the video. And they didn't call it engineering; they call it biology, because the model is not as kind of a deterministic, how can I say, a deterministic rule-based system. It is like an organism. Nobody kind of model this large language models. They basically train it, and then the model works by itself. And then so that they call it like an organism or like brain, because it's basically a neural networks. It looks like brain. And I will tell you the history of this idea in a bit. So that I think the study of these machines is becoming a social science, and it needs you. And there is a historical debate in philosophy of language and logic whether human language can be programmed or not. And then there are two lines of thought. One is symbolic AI tradition. They basically envision that human things like symbolic logic, and then we need to translate this symbols, this logic, this rule-based systems, and then we can create some machines talk like us. They can imitate us, but they cannot possess their concept. They can just imitate our kind of concepts, our ideas, by just following the already defined rules. For example, if we say, I am blah blah, and why are you blah blah, and then if we fill the blah blah, and then the model can fill the blanks. And this was the idea in the beginning, And then MIT scholars created some machines talking to you based on this rule-based systems in 1966. It's very early idea. But and also they argue that human language is systematic, and then we need to keep a continuous this system. A network cannot think. But recently, and also there are a couple of replies in the beginning, but recently they come up with very strong counter argument and says that and the concepts are probably vectors in network. And this is not a new idea. You may already know about word embeddings method. It is all about transforming texts into the embedding space and then look at the concepts as a vector. And then they provide evidence that neural networks can own their concepts as a network as a direction, as a vector in a network. And they argue that concepts are not symbol anymore. And then large language models work with this kind of, not simple, but with this idea. And then they call it this line of thought connectivist school of thought. And then 5 years ago, nobody knows how to study language models' brain, like human brain, using neuroscience techniques. But recently, I think I can say at least 5 years, maybe 7 to 10 years, but no more than that. They are they're hard working on how to open the model and ask, is the concept really in there as a direction or not? And then I share the blog post to Akınoca as a kind of a preliminary kind of check of the idea. In 2020, there is a blog post. It's not a research article. It's just blog post. But he discovered that we can look at the model inside by just simple techniques. And then follow the concepts and words. And then we will do that. Everybody will have a chance to do that at the end of this talk by yourself. And then I will instruct you how to do that. But in brief, we can say that we can open the models and then look at what are there inside there. But it is not that easy. It is a kind of complicated issue still, but it is not black box anymore. At least I can say. Let's meet the object. This is I will not tell you all details about transformer models, but I strongly recommend you to understand how the model works mathematically. And there is AI by hand Substack channel. It is not kind of it's just Substack blog. I like blogs because they explain the concepts very intuitively. A mathematics professor explained the models inside in a very intuitive way. I strongly recommend you to check it out. And basically, these are large language models are decoder only models. You basically embed your texts into the model, into the network. And then inside the network, there are layers, there are multi-layer perceptrons, like short-term memory of the model. And then there are residual streams, kind of storing all the features of the encoded texts inside the model. It's like long-term memory of the models. And at the end, models take attention of some features more than the others, and then predict the next word. this is how the predicting next word works in brief, in my understanding. For example, Miles Davis plays the trumpet is the most probable kind of word the model can predict. And as I said, there's encoder, decoder, MLP, attention. These are all key concepts you may need to know, but this is not the lecture explaining how the model works, and I will skip it. So how to study models? I said in the beginning, this talk is about anthropology of machines. Anthropologues or ethnographers are most of the time observe, then intervene because they are not, but sometimes they intervene and see the effect. It's a kind of an experiment. I kind of classify all the works are being done in this direction in two groups. One group or one line of the work try to focus on observing what is there, and the other line of work try to see whether anything inside the model have more effect on the result than the other features inside the model, and then they intervene the model like a surgeon, and then they play with the features inside the brain and then see how the model's output change. But I will focus on the observe part of that line of work, and then leave intervene maybe next year or so to talk about later. But I want to show you how can we observe, how can we read the internal state and change nothing. And I call it, this is ethnography of the model, like cloud engineers say biology of model. I think we need to replace that language with the social science language to open a new way to us in this field, emerging field. And this field is called mechanistic interpretability. Maybe if you heard about this concept, this is all about how to read, how to analyze, how to understand the inner work of large language models. So the limited one, and you will have a chance to play with this tool. The Nostra Jabrist, the blog post I shared with you, raised this kind of elaborate this method. It's called logit lens. It basically read models answers from the early layers until the last layer and try to see how the answer will evolve over time. Models predict an answer just in the beginning of the layer, and then it evolve. The answer will change in each layer, and logit lens allow you to see how the models predict in the first layer, in the second layer, in the third layer. This is not a proof that the models think like that. This is proof that how the models thinking evolves, but we cannot argue that the answer in the second layer has more effect on the output than the kind of answer in the sixth layer, something like that. So these are the causal kind of analysis part, intervening part, so that we cannot argue that these are causal things, but at least we can see the predicted words in the early layers. For example, Miles Davis plays the trumpet is not like just pop out at the end of the layer. It predicts in the early layers. It predicts the word think, and then jazz, and then horn, and then trumpet comes at that. So we can basically evolve how the vocabulary of the model inside. So And this tells you a lot if you know about if you are curious about the vocabulary of the models, the culture of the model, the politics of the model. If you ask an American model, for example, on um, on the politics of abortion, let's say, it can think with words different than a Chinese model asked the same question. So the vocabulary of politics or political thinking would be different, and this is, I think, interesting to understand. And there is a work, very simple. They took the very simple idea and asked the model some multilingual prompts, and then try to see how the models think in the middle layers. And then they see that Llama model. This is from the Vendor et al. 2024 article. Benjamin also is a co-author of this article. They basically found that Llama models think in English. So this is so kind of assertive to argue that a model think English, but at least we see English words in the middle layers. Even the model is asked Chinese kind of prompt or French or something like that. And then you can check this paper out and then see how they use this simple method to find the private language of the model inside. As I said, these are all kind of early works and still contested, but it tells something. The other line of the work in the observed tradition, not the intervene, looking at neurons directly than the words. Logit look at predicted words and then look at the evolution of the predicted words from the early layers to the last layer. But there is another line of work looking at the neurons directly, and it is not a new idea. It is a kind of an early idea in machine learning. Sparse autoencoder. It basically opens the layer and then look at the features inside that layer and then close that layer and then try to find the most important features like high probability value features inside the layer, and then they find that models, neural networks. It is way before the large language model, by the way. The idea goes back to machine learning, the neural network tradition. Models encode more concepts, more features than the neurons, and the concepts are direction inside the space, and word embeddings, for example, works like that. And then they come up with the idea of superposition. The neurons are representing more concepts, more feature than their numbers. And then we can find those concepts and features by just opening up using sparse autoencoder approach, and then kind of summarize like logit lens, and then see the vector's position inside the space. And then Neuropedia is very common to use this method. We don't have time because I wanna wrap up in a couple of minutes, and then I will give you a chance to play with the models insights. But I wanna kind of strongly recommend you to check this page. Neuropedia is basically storing all the features inside the models, especially smaller models, not kind of bigger models. And then you can basically ask your question and try to see the features, the concepts inside it. And you can basically intervene the model, steer the model, make the model less political. For example, in one of my experiment, I was playing with the most important features of the model in terms of political kind of ideology. And then I play with, I come up with kind of 10 to 20 kind of features, most kind of important features. And then I play with one of them and then saw that the models, the conservative model turns into liberal model, just playing just one neuron. When you play with just one neuron, and then you can turn models ideology, and then you can switch the model's ideology. You can make a neutral one, etc. So if you see some works, some papers like saying that we fine-tune the model and then we steer the model and then we make it less biased, they basically most probably use this kind of methods inside it. And you can check this concepts, these features used using sparse autoencoder on Neuropedia. And we don't have time to walk through their page. Maybe next time, or you can do by yourself. So let's turn to the question in the beginning. Does AI need social science, or does social science need AI? I think what we did was here is fieldwork. We basically go to the inner world of the model and then read the feature. We can use a long tradition of description in qualitative social science tradition. We can basically describe the model's thought in a thick way and come up with an understanding of the model's thinking. Also, we can use process tracing method to watch how the models change its behavior. But open problems overall is this is my conclusion based on my exchange with the computer scientist and an AI scientist, because they use the concepts discussed in social science for more than 50 years rigorously in a very kind of uh, uh, simple way, let's say. For example, they use the term concept. We have a long history of conceptualization literature, and then we talk about construct validity, reliability, and all other kind of things. And they don't know about this concepts, this conceptualization, and then they can basically say that I can see multidimensional concept in just one vector. You cannot see it like that way. I discuss with them, and then they come up with the idea that we computer scientists don't think deeper like you, so that but I think social scientists, those who are trained as a kind of purely social scientists, like qualitative social scientists, have should focus on those studies and then can find some value to import some social science ideas, measurement, conceptualization, description, and all other things, and then apply their kind of their skills into the complex problems in mechanistic interpretability. So that I think AI needs more social science. And social scientists were already doing this before LLMs. There's a paper, Kozlowski, Teddy Evans wrote a paper, Geometry of Culture. In word embeddings, they basically found that concepts are directions in the embedding space. You can look at that paper. I think social science can proceed without AI, but maybe this is a bold idea. But AI cannot become trustworthy without us. This is my take. So let's stop here. I talked a lot. I want to experience this this mechanistic interpretability journey, and you will basically need to. I will show my experiment, and then you will see how to do that, and then you will do all on your own in your PC. What you need to think is just a closed task prompt. For example, in my case, I asked the model, let me open the workbench directly because let's do it from the scratch. So Workbench NDiff is a platform, it's an funded platform allowing you to look at the inside of model without having access to GPU and other kind of necessary kind of resources. You basically write a prompt and then pick a method here. In our case, logit lens our method, and then pick a model. And there are some models, base models, chat models here. Let's keep it minimal. I will write my close task. Close task means you basically write your sentence, but left the last word kind of blank, and then the model predict the next word directly. The whole model's job is just predicting the last word, and this is what they are best. So let's say the Galata Tower is in the city of, let's see whether the model knows this or not, or how, if they knows whether they find the answer by just looking at look well in Excel or just predicting the next word using some probabilistic analysis over the layer. So you will end up with this visualization page, and you see the model. So in the left y-axis, you see the words as tokens encoded in the model, and in the x-axis you see the layers goes from the 0 in the beginning, and then 7 to 9, which is the last layer. Some of times you can see the models have less amount of layer or more. It's all about models architecture, but we are working on Llama 3.1, 70 billion parameter model, and instruct model tuned for the chats. And what we see here, in the beginning of the layer, the model cannot predict a reliable word. You see some numbers. It cannot, Norton, which is unrelevant. And in the second layer, we see some words, but semi-words, I don't know. Still not reliable, and you can see the probability of that word. It's just 1%. It's very low. It means nothing. And there's bridge predicted. I think the tower word nudged the model to predict the next word as bridge for that token, and this is good. And Galata, for example, when the model see the Galata, it predicts bridge. I think this is something. And city is as a kind of a next word of off here. Let's look at another layer. So there are some dots, blank, still Nothing useful for our case, but something happened in the fifth layer, and then the models started to predict in higher probability. And city center, for example, maybe the most common verb in its training data, and the probability is 56.6% here. And goal is I think beginning of the word. Let's look at so until the last layer, we don't see anything about Turkey or Istanbul. But I don't know what happened, and nobody knows by just looking at that table. The models predict Istanbul at the end, and it's correctly, and with a high probability. But before that, we see only bridge, center, district kind of questions, nothing kind of useful to predict the word we are kind of looking for. And sometimes if you ask some political question or cultural questions, you can see how your prompts, your input tokens nudge the model to predict the next word, and then you can basically take a picture of that words and then come up with a thick description of the model's culture or model's ideology. I think now, do you have any questions how you can do this? Otherwise, I want to show my instructions to do this by yourself. But you will do this, just come up with a close prompt like me and sign in, and just one click sign up using GitHub or Google. This is the web page, and you will pick the method logit lens. You can pick another model if it is hot, and then type your close sentence you know the answer to, and then read the rostro, and then take a screenshot of the your page, and I will share a drive link to you. And I want everyone, you upload your screenshots in the drive folder, and everyone can see the others' response. Sounds good? Any questions?
I have one question. Can you give me some other examples that would basically be ideal tests for? Like, what would you recommend? What kind of prompts do you recommend?
The ideal prompt is you know the last word, but you just write the rest of the sentence.
Okay.
Left the last word open to the model. The model is basically predicting just one word, which is Istanbul here. The Galata Tower is in the city of Istanbul. This is the next word we expect. Just the models will expect just one word. The answer will be should be just one word, not a sentence. And the prompt should write all of the words except the last predicted words. For example, I can write one more thing. For example, here, another example, the famous, the Eiffel Tower is located in the city of
Wait, what?
happened.
Did we
Why?
run out of tokens?
I don't think so, because this is let's pick another model. It may happen.
You can say the best team in Turkey is And then it's going to, of course, end with Beşiktaş. So
Best football team in Turkey. Yes. Let's pick another model. Let's pick Bayes model. Bayes models are not instruct to answer the user, and so Bayes models are sometimes more useful than the instruct models to understand the model's culture and ideology, because they are raw. You can basically see how they trained. Oh my God. Why? It was working. Okay, it's running. Okay, cool. Okay, cool. So I see Gal here.
oh,
Sorry, Akılcan. I see Gal. The predicted word is Gal, but
no, the model is wrong. Choose another one.
it's biased, hocam. It's biased. But at least we see that it predicted the word Gal, but it's not a high with not high probability. It's just 20%. Well, we saw high percentage bets. Beşiktaş, I think the beginning of the Beşiktaş. But what happens at the end, Galatasaray kind of outweigh the word best. But I don't see fan or other things. I think best is the first letters of the Beşiktaş. Gal is the first letters of the Galatasaray, and the rest are just trash. Turkish straight, we are not looking for the straight. What's here? I think it did a pretty good job. It's a very small model, 70 billion parameters model. And it predicts the first letters of two big teams. But what happened at the end, I don't know. But Gal is the last predicted word here. And this is the box we need to focus on, because this is the last layer, and this is the last word in the prompt, and then this is the next predicted word. But you can see the evolution of the predictions, like Bess, F, I think Fenerbahçe's F, maybe, and then Gal.
Okay, so they can start doing this. Do you have like a specific drive you want them in, or
I will share the link in the chat. Let me, because I forgot to create a drive link. If you have a drive link for anything, you can share it to them as well. But let me create my. It's just for fun. It's not required, but maybe people want to see the friends' prompts and responses. Okay, I shared the link in the chat. I hope you can.
oh, I have to send it to people's WhatsApps.
And there is a Google Sheet. You will type your close prompt and predicted word and the probability. Because the probability is important. all the models predicted the next word, label something, and I think OpenAI models give you the log probe, logarithmic probability of the prediction. So you basically write your close prompt here and then play with the NDEF workbench and then put the screenshot in the drive folder and then and this is an anonymous exercise. You don't need to write your name, but if you want to write your name, you can write your name here. And then at the end, after seeing the predicted word, and you can basically write the probability here. In the case we can see, for example, in the best football team in Turkey, the predicted word is goal, but the probability is 20%. It's very low.
Can you show the instruction screen again?
Let me show it.
Yeah, so go to workbench ndif.us, sign in, try different models, and then write a sentence whose like last word you know the answer for, and then do some test runs, find a nice question and a nice iteration which shows the last word. It completes the last word correctly or interestingly or in a funny way. Screenshot it and send it to Emre's drive, which I shared with you on WhatsApp.
In the meantime, let me show the.
Can you access? Okay. What sheets? Oh, did you share the sheet or did you share the drive?
I shared both drive and sheet. Sheet is here.
Uh-huh.
Let's look at the prompts. You can ask some ideological or cultural questions. The models are kind of yes, we can treat the models like lookup table and ask what the models knows or how they believes. You can ask their leanings toward any cultural or political or anything or psychological direction. This can be interesting.
Let's see where it says this. Oh, it's to reach this. Okay.
But this prompt gives the answer. You may want to ask what is the capital of Turkey and whether the model knows the capital of Turkey or not.
Yeah.
You need to make it hide.
Yeah, so the last word, you shouldn't put the last word into the prompt.
Okay, there's a grammatical question, and with a high probability, the model predicts can. So models are capable of predicting grammatical kind of words.
Should I explain again? Okay, so can you open the page again, the instruction page? So we go there, workbench ndif US. You sign in, you pick the lens and model combination tryout. The closed sentence is something like Emre tested out in various forms. So the Eiffel Tower is in the city of, and then it's using its models, it tries to complete the sentence.
Oh, that's a good one.
Let's check the prompts and answers and see. Let's look at the screenshots. For example, start from the beginning. I think this is Rome is the capital of.
It was very fast.
It's in the middle of a very early layer. It predicts Italy. It is good. And what was the probability of Italy here? Oh, 98. But the model knows about Italy a lot.
Yeah,
See.
test something like controversial and culturally loaded. The kind of like things that when it adds like the last word ideally should start a fight. What?
The task of the is
Okay.
and said very.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But 98%.
But did you write it? It's not in the list of Excel.
G16.
Also write it in the Excel sheets in there. Yeah. Yeah, that's wonderful example. Like something that ideally should start a fight in a bar, basically.
Let's look at the other prompts. You can ask one more than this is just I just asked you to do once at least, but you can ask more questions, and then if you find something interesting, you can put it under this list. We can just add more interesting examples here. So we checked the capitals of the countries and etc., but sometimes when I find trouble with sleeping, I will try to play some game. This is a kind of a recommendation prompt. The model basically prompts you to play a game, as far as I understand. Let me check the screenshot. This is very interesting. Who was asking this? Maybe. Can you please kind of upload your screenshots in the Drive folder as well? Because I'm very curious about this. Because the model suggests you to play game. Actually, there's a word play here so that the model can predict the next word as game, but it didn't say piano or something like that or guitar. Maybe if we see something like um, a musical instrument here, it tells something. We should tax the rich. So this says the model are kind of leftist, sometimes, sort of. But you can ask this model like that. I was when I was experimenting on the political ideology of the model, I was asking like a policy suggestion. What should our taxation policy should be, for example, the answer could be progressive or equal or something like that. And in the case, you can kind of extract the ideological leaning of the model. But with this answer, I can say that this model. Oh, we should write the model here as well. Because the different models tells you different. For example, Chinese models may tells you a different thing than American models, and this is an important comparative politics question.
They have different views on who will have.
Can you hear her?
No.
No. Can you maybe?
What was the question?
Well, none of them actually came up with this as an answer, but Lama thought about England for the World Cup and ChatGPT thought Brazil and Germany. But granted, it's all different alphabets.
So different models predicted who is going to win the World Cup. Different.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. You can write a blog post on that. And then you can say that using LogitLens, I experiment on the who will win the World Cup, and then this is the answer. I think these are just cool kind of experimentations, and then this will motivate you to go further in your research direction. And this is interesting. I wanna read this blog post, for example, if you write this and show the visualizations. Which model predicts what? This tells us about the training bias of the model. And I didn't see anything, any experimentation someone did for the World Cup this year. So main
You
task.
have to either shout or you tell me, I'll tell him.
Even models halfway through they speak or think in English.
Mm.
I was wondering whether that's also the case in seeing the Chinese model.
So do Chinese models also start thinking in English halfway through the model? Like DeepSeek.
Based on my experimentations, they think English because, but some of them may start with Chinese or maybe start with English and then turn into Chinese in the middle layers and then turn it to English depending on the prompt. It's all open questions. You can basically play with this different prompts. You can write. For example, I tried Turkish prompts on Llama model, and then Llama model basically failed, so that I ended up English prompt for the exercise for the talk. But you can play with this different language, different models, different origins of the models. For example, Queen is a kind of a distill. Some of the Queen models are distill models from the Llama, so that they may think English. But I think Alibaba's model, I forgot the name of it, but was trained from the scratch as a Chinese model. Maybe it behaves differently than the other models. So I think you can play with different origins, different prompts, multilingual prompts with the same question, and then try to compare how the models respond. And then I really like this question. The main task of man is to live, and the main task of woman is to marry. And this is very old and very important, by the way, kind of question. I showed in the talk the geometry of culture. This article published in American Sociological Review, they basically show the gender, class, and affluence kind of directions inside the model's ideology or culture, let's say. I think these are all important questions we need to deal with. And I'm curious about this main task of men and women screenshots. Can you also rename your screenshots so that we can easily find?
Like what it contains. No question.
So we should text reach from the beginning. Reach is popped up. And Siberian Huskies have blue eyes. Blueberries. So in the beginning, it predicted blueberry and then turned into eyes. And I don't see the question here. Well, anyway, Russia.
I think it is where does Crimea belong
Crimea.
to?
Oh, this tells something. Crimea is a part of Ukraine, and then Russia.
Mm.
And there is an S here, maybe annexation, kind of thing. I don't know.
Let's see.
Trabzon is famous for its. It didn't pop up anything. Maybe Trabzon is very underrepresented in the model. The FIFA World Cup won by Eng means England, maybe. It didn't predicting anything. I see ink here, signaling England. Well, I don't see any other. Maybe England is highly represented in the context of World Cup. You can, if you are, so you basically get a smoking gun evidence by just using logit lens. But after getting the smoking gun or finding the smoking gun evidence, you can turn into sparse autoencoder approach, and it will gives you a full picture of features inside the model. Won by, okay, there's Brazil, maybe Germany, Brazil too. But I don't see the model here. Maybe I need to check the sheet. This should be the Chinese model because it starts with Chinese and Arabic. Interesting. And I kind of puzzled why it starts with Arabic and then continue with the Chinese or similar things. And then toward the end, it turns into English translation of anything. So the model basically thinks in Chinese, we can say.
It's so weird. There's also Russian in there. There's what looks like Hindi. It's
Ah, I don't know Russian, so that it is good. It is interesting to see how the models. Maybe it can be a topic of comparison. How the models are multilingual. So, for example, Chinese models may be more multilingual than the English origin models. So, this may tell us something. I was comparing the model's performance on the multilingual prompts, but I didn't look at the inside of the models. But I think this will be an interesting topic of study. Capitalism is evil or bad. Unjust, maybe, flawed. All bad words here. Maybe this model, maybe anti-capitalist. Okay, I think everyone did upload at least one prompt, as far as I can see. Akın hocam, this was the all plan of the talk. Let me wrap up with last sentence.
Yes.
Are they black box? I think not black, not white. They are translucent and in patches. And we can see the local results. Labels don't always replicate, but most of the times replicate if it's a base model. But if it is an instruct model, we cannot argue that the models always just use the same answer. And the scaling is open. If it is a bigger model, we cannot argue that the models behave in a similar way. You can experiment this in multi-size llama models, and you can see how the llama models behave differently when they get bigger. I think we need to go beyond observation and then look at the intervention part. And then there is a recently published paper in sociological methodology. And GMA basically inject a concept in the model and then try to see how the model's behavior change. And then these are innovative and creative methods. And then I think social scientists this is the job of social scientists than the engineer or AI scientist, because we know the concept, means we know the interesting topics, we know how to probe the model, what is the interesting thing in the model or not. But description comes first, and this is what we did here. And these are my references. I will share my slides if you want. If you want to delve into some works here, I referred in the talk. And we spent a century learning to study people who do not fully know their own minds. And now I think there is a new kind of mind, and it's waiting for its anthropologists. And this is my talk.
Thank you so much. Do you have any questions? This was to me very fascinating. We know that like large language models are biased, but I think seeing the exact chain of reasoning of why different models, because they get training from different text data, creates its bias chain is, I think, one of the most important and valuable things we can know as of today, because maybe 2 years, 3 years later, we'll not be even in a position to truly understand where model biases are coming from. So this year or the next year, it could be like the only 2 years left we have to properly understand where these biases are coming from. And I think this website to me was very new. I will definitely play with it more this week in my free time. But do you have any question about the tool, about the talk? Yes.
First, thank you for this interesting lecture. But something more dangerous is that people are actually using commercial closed models that we can track, we can see how they are thinking. Even recently, when you tell like ChatGPT, please give me your chain of thoughts, it says no, I can't show it to you. Or I have read some papers that say AI models are just giving us fake chain of thoughts.
Yeah.
So I think we should find a way to go to OpenAI company and say, okay, I
think
want to see how the models are thinking.
I think this is a great question, and I was thinking about this. So all of my talk was relying on open source models, because I think the future of social science is relying on open source models, and then we need to rely on open source models, and in which we kind of fine tune it for our purposes, or kind of fine tune its biases or something like that. We know everything inside the model, etc. And then day by day, the smaller models get more smarter, and then make useful for our research purposes. This is one thing. But when it comes to your question, I think this is the thing we know as social scientists. Social anthropologists, for example, let's talk about this. Always study some population, some groups, some things hard to reach and hard to study. And then they need to circumvent some obstacles and find a way to understand their ideology, their culture, their something, depending on their question. And this is our job, to circumvent the model's opacities, let's say. And there is a paper called Double Speak. I can share the link. They basically probe a model. It's just like prompting. It's not asking the models inside ideology or things or chain of thoughts. They basically come up with a probe explaining how to do a bomb, but they basically change the word bomb with carrot. And all the prompt is just replace the word bomb with carrot, and they basically ask the model kind of a couple of questions and ask the model to give a recipe to do a bomb. And the models are trained to not to give a recipe for doing a bomb or just some dangerous things. But they find a way to circumvent the models' security kind of flags or security filters, and the model basically gives the result and the recipe of doing a bomb. So I think this is our job to come up with some creative way to circumvent the model's opacity and hard to reach inner world, even if it is a kind of a closed bigger model and property model. They are called property models. And we are unfortunately relying on their reports. For example, Anthropic is very transparent in that regard, I can say. They are publishing their reports on how the models behave each year or each month sometimes. You can look at their webpage, but I think we should find a way to study those closed models. Even they refuse to answer our questions. And this needs some creativity and some, I think we can inspire from anthropologists or sociologists how they study hard to reach populations, how they like detective at the time. And I think this may tell something to us. Tying my argument in the talk.
Yeah. Any other questions? All right, let's give another round of applause to Emre. Emre, çok teşekkürler. Kendine çok iyi bak.
Sağ olun hocam. Görüşmek üzere.
Bir dahaki sefere seni physical alalım.
İnşallah hocam.
Görüşürüz. Bay bay.